now we return you to your host.
Hello and welcome back today from Making Shiny Side Out. That's right, on revolution.radio. If you didn't know it, this is a station that is listener funded, which means you, the listener, can help us stay on the air by donating. Excuse me, any kind of currency is good, including crypto. So why don't you go ahead and donate? If you can't donate, please tell please tell the station about the people. Please tell people about the station, and one of those good folk, I'm sure, can donate once you've introduced them to the plethora of information available here. A very table cornucopia, just like there was on Fruit of the Loom. That's right. I keep sliding and sliding back and forth. It's really getting to me, Dave. What can I say?
I can tell you to stop it.
I remember. You know why I remember the Fruit of the Loom? I tell you why. Because I looked at it, and to me, because I spoke German, obviously, but we had Fruit of the Loom as a brand in Germany, right? And later when I learned English, I go, Fruit of the Loom. Oh, it's cotton. That makes sense. But I thought the loom was that horn, the cornucopia, as it were, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I didn't know what Fruit of the Loom is. So I thought that it's just the loom is that thing out of which the fruit seems to be falling.
Except
so I remember this.
Never existed.
It never existed, but I remember thinking it. So clearly, I must have been thinking about it in my deluded state when I was a young child. Because I thought, well, fruit, I know. I understood, because fruit and Frucht in German is similar. I knew enough English to know that's what it meant.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But loom, I thought, was that thing in the background out of which these things were falling. So I don't have an opinion on Berenstain or Berenstein, simply because I didn't read those books when I was a child. But it makes sense by the pronunciation alone. I mean, Berenstain. They're not called the Berenstain Bears, right?
Well,
they're actually called the Berenstain Bears, aren't they?
That's right. Now, except that in some countries, having such a German-looking name at the time was not favourable.
Well, it's actually Jewish, to be honest.
Well, I'm just saying. Foreign name.
Yeah.
But Berenstain kind of made sense. Such an easy
I understand what you're saying,
you know?
But the stain is not how anybody pronounces it, right?
Well, it would have been Stain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because there are two ways you can pronounce Bernstein. There are two ways you can do it. You can say the English way, which is Berenstain.
Now, one Springfield company is...
Try the Germanized way, which is Berenstein or Stein. Okay? Which means stone, in fact. Okay? So Steen or Stein, but never Stain. Stain just doesn't come into it. Anyway. Enough of that, I say. We've been talking about a whole bunch of stuff earlier, and a lot of the stuff really bothers me a lot, and it keeps bothering me more and more. Oh, Springfield, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, no, right, gotcha. It really does. A lot of stuff bothers me. That's
a hell of a town.
Hell of a town. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. What? That's the wrong town, brother. Hey, okay. No, but we've been talking about remote viewing. So last week we had some technical challenges around daylight savings. It happens. Nothing you can do. It's just unfortunate. So we are going to continue with remote viewing as we have for the past weeks. Last week we couldn't. But this week we certainly will. It's the Kozyrev mirror. We've talked about at length. Talked about time travel, and now, of course, remote viewing, and not only remote viewing, but also the applications in the industrial military complex. Because officially, remote viewing didn't work. Remember, Dave? Big old statements about remote viewing was ineffective. It didn't yield any kind of actionable intelligence. That doesn't work, etc., etc., etc. Yet we learned otherwise from some of the documentation, and to this day, especially in the United States, right? Police departments still make use of psychics.
Totally.
So, right. And remote viewing, for all intents and purposes, is a psychic faculty, right? If you want to call it an extrasensory kind of phenomenon, right? I mean, it's on top of what we consider our normal senses. Right? Fair enough,
correct.
I get it.
That's absolutely right.
Makes perfect sense, but it seems that it wasn't quite as ineffective as the official story would want us to believe. Right now, we heard from Karen T. Hulchan. She's a remote viewer herself. We heard from the Strategic Analysis magazine, a journal. It's a monthly journal of IDSA. Okay, and this was a clairvoyant remote viewing, the US-sponsored psychic spying. Right. This was really to look at what had happened in those times, and we are up to
page 28. Follow up on the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency's CIA remote viewing experiments.
Why don't you take that, my friend?
No.
And by the way, sorry, before we go any further, this was taken. This is important. It's always important where we get this stuff from. I want to. Oh, this is a lot of stuff here. Just bear with me. No, we don't have to share all of this because there's a lot there. This is a fairly in-depth kind of study that was undertaken, and I'll come to the end of it at some point, I'm sure. No, not yet. No, not yet. Not
it reminds
yet.
me of
Here we go.
Scrolling.
www.ncbi.nml.nih.gov.
NIH?
NIH.
Really?
Yes, that's where it's from. Okay,
Wow.
www.ncbi.nlm.nih.gov. That's where it's from.
Wow, the NIH. Just going to say it. I like some of their papers, Mecky.
Hey.
Especially the one on Astragalus.
I know, right?
I
Interesting
know.
stuff.
Yeah.
So, why don't you take us into it now? And look, this is the entire study, which we're happy to share with anyone, obviously. It's freely available on the net. And we'll probably share the pertinent bits with you. There's a lot of graphs here, a lot of analysis, which you really have to see. We won't read it out because it doesn't make sense when we read it out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but look, we'll deal with that as we go through it. Go ahead,
sure. Let's just take a section, a heading section each. Since this is the objectives from the abstract, since 1972, the US Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, commissioned several research programs on remote viewing, RV, that were progressively declassified from 1995 to 2003. The main objectives of this research were to statistically replicate the original findings and address the question, what are the underlying cognitive mechanisms involved in remote viewing? The research focused on emotional intelligence, EI, theory and intuitive information processing as possible hypothetical mechanisms.
Now, two things here, and then I would like to take methods as well. Two things. One, this is important. They want to replicate the original findings, okay, but they want to address the question. This is sort of a foregone conclusion in some ways. What are the underlying cognitive mechanisms involved in RV? Not is RV a thing? Does RV happen? Is it real? No. What are the underlying cognitive mechanisms? We had the same kind of thing when we looked at, I think it was ESP or some other psychic phenomena that was being studied. Telepathy. It was paper on telepathy. Right. And the paper wasn't concerned with whether or not telepathy existed, but rather how it worked.
That's right. So
the telepathy is a thing that was for that particular study. I think it was a Japanese study, but I'll have to double check that. For that study, it's a thing. We just want to know how it works. Okay, this has the same flavor.
Yeah.
Not is remote viewing a thing, but what are the underlying cognitive mechanisms? And which I really find interesting, they're looking at emotional intelligence. Now, what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is your ability to essentially live with other people. And I'm being flippant here, but it is your ability to exist in a group without too much friction.
Fail that test.
Well, yeah, absolutely, right. I mean, psychopaths usually have. I mean, they're very gregarious, but their EQ is low. Emotional EI is low. People on the spectrum have very low EI. And I mean, autism, of course, at this point. But certainly, EI, or EQ, as it's also called, allows you to function really well in large groups, right? I mean, the more in tune you are, and this is really what this is, the more in tune you are with your fellow people, the better you function within any given group. Make sense? I find that interesting that they would apply that measure to this mechanism. Anyway, go ahead.
I would have thought it was the other way around, to be honest.
I know, right?
Yeah, I know. All right, so the methods, you've got to ask yourself, what methods are in this abstract? And it says, we used a quasi-experimental design with new statistical control techniques based on structural equation modeling, analysis of invariance, and forced choice experiments to accurately objectify results. We measured emotional intelligence with the Mayer-Salovey-Caruso emotional intelligence test. A total of 347 participants who were non-believers in psychic experiences completed an RV experiment using targets based on location coordinates. A total of 287 participants reported beliefs in psychic experiments and completed another RV experiment using targets based on images of places. Moreover, we, the people doing the testing, not Meki and I, divided the total sample into further subsamples for the purpose of replicating the findings, and also used different thresholds on standard deviations to test for variation in effect sizes. The hit rates on the Psi-RV task were contrasted with the estimated chance. Meki?
The results of our first group analysis were non-significant, but the analysis applied to the second group produced significant RV-related effects corresponding to the positive influence of EI. For instance, hits in the RV experiments were 19.5% predicted from the EI, with small to moderate effect sizes between 0.457 and 0.853.
Conclusions. These findings have profound implications for a new hypothesis of anomalous cognitions relative to RV protocols. Emotions perceived during RV sessions may play an important role in the production of anomalous cognitions. We propose the Production Identification Comprehension PIC emotional model as a function of behavior that could enhance VR test success. Now, the key words here are anomalous cognitions, Central Intelligence Agency, emotional intelligence, PSI, remote viewing. Since 1972, the US Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, commissioned several research programs on remote viewing, RV, that were progressively declassified from 1995 to 2003. We offer new statistical evidence suggesting a new approach to RV research based on the role of emotions and emotional intelligence. Is that a repeat phrase? I think it might have been.
I don't know. Let me see.
It's very close.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is very close to that. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, so the introduction, and this is I'm going to share all of that. That's important. Okay, in 1995, U.S. President Clinton, by order number 1995-4-17, entitled "Classified National Security Information," declassified several research programs, among other contents, funded by the Central Intelligence Agency and Defense Intelligence Agency of the United States, taken from Puthoff 1996. These covert programs were developed over more than 20 years at the Stanford Research Institute, SRI, and the Science Applications International Corporation, SAIC. Programs addressed remote viewing, RV, that is determined whether certain individuals under conditions of perceptual isolation could access information about places, buildings, photographs, etc. from a distance using putative PSI rather than conventional sensory channels, like what we normally use to perceive things. The specific objective was to explore whether RV phenomena had enough consistency and stability for use in military espionage. Due to the Cold War and ensuing political military tensions between the United States and the former Soviet Union, American Congress classified these programs in the interest of national security. The fact that the RV experiments were hidden or classified undermined transparency in scientific research practices. Specifically, other laboratories were not given access to information and were unable to evaluate outcomes with proper methodological or statistical rigor. Dave?
1.1. What is remote viewing? RV is an experimental technique for altered anomalous states that allows two types of anomalous cognitions to be subjected to empirical scrutiny. Precognition is also called anticipation of unpredictable stimuli or anomalous anticipation of information. And it can be defined as the process by which a person accesses information about the future, i.e. events that have not yet happened for the person who doesn't understand what future events are, without using sensory or otherwise rational channels recognized by conventional scientific theory. And then there's B. Retrocognition, also called anomalous information reception or clairvoyance, is defined as the process by which a person accesses content referring to the past, stuff that's already happened, without using the conventional channels of biology or logic per current scientific theory. The expression psi phenomena, or psi, is a hypothetical construct that has the same definition attributed to anomalous cognitions. However, the term anomalous cognitions is more a neutral label, as the term psi is often used by parapsychologists. All these concepts have been sharply criticized on methodological, statistical, or conceptual grounds. In remote viewing, the participant is asked to visualize the information they intend to access from the past or future. Then the participant must mentally and non-verbally represent the distant target or targets to be guessed. The target is often a specific place, person, or fact. The targets of remote viewing experiments contain specific meanings of interest to the US national security, like the location of a secret military base. The present study focused on remote viewing relative to anomalous information reception, as it is one of the most researched anomalous phenomena showing significant results. That's really important, isn't it, Mackie?
Showing significant results, absolutely.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the abbreviation for anomalous information reception, AIR, is the same as the abbreviation for the American Institute of Research, also AIR, and we wish to prevent confusion. So, henceforth, we use the terms anomalous cognition and RV to refer exclusively to anomalous information reception. Oh, they put a legend on it.
See, but that's the thing, though. We are divided by a common language, right? So and half the issues that we face every day, and even in these things, is because we can't agree on the terms. We might be talking about the same thing, but we're calling it two different names, right? So I appreciate what they're doing here. But you're right, Dave. What is an important statement here is the present study focused on RV relative to anomalous information reception, as it is one of the most researched, anomalous phenomena, fair enough, but showing significant results. And this came from Bem et al. In 2016 and Tresoldi and Storm in 2021. So that is for me, that is one of the key statements in this paper.
Mm.
Now we're coming to section 1.2, scientific reviews and conclusions after the CIA declassification. Reports on the declassified SRI and SAIC experiments were evaluated in 1995 by statisticians, hard word to say, Atz and Hyman, for the American Institutes for Research. Although the two authorities agreed on some points, they conflicted on several, with the most significant disagreement being the ultimate conclusions. Atz determined that the evidence from the SRI and SAIC experiments was sufficiently consistent to accept that RV phenomena were empirically validated. In contrast, Hyman did not consider this evidence adequate, criticized some of the methodological procedures applied by SRI, and contended that it did not support the assertion that RV phenomena were scientifically established. Now, I need to add here that Atz undertook 3 studies, 95, 96, and 2018, and Hyman only did it in 1996. However, they both agreed on a critical interpretation, namely that the effect sizes of the experiments conducted at SAIC, which were the most rigorous and addressed methodological problems evident in research conducted at SRI in May 1996, were consistent and homogeneous. Okay? The effect sizes of the experiments at SAIC were consistent and homogeneous. In the words of Hyman, at best, the results of the SAIC experiments combined with other contemporary findings offer hope that the parapsychologists may be getting closer to the day when they can put something before the scientific community and challenge it to provide an explanation. Now, this assertion invited further studies of RV that attempted to replicate the observed effects, namely Waha and May in 2015. Dave?
Yeah, subsequent research. Numerous experiments on anomalous cognitions have yielded results statistically favourable. And it says in here, see the original experiments of Mayer and al. 2014. And unfavourable, see the replication of Ricci and al. in 2012 to the psi hypothesis. In the case of RV, experiments with significant results greatly predominate, e.g., see another Nature publication, Tart and all, 1980, and the contributions of Dunn and Yarn in 2007, blah, 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 it goes on. A curious trend. And
over
one
unsuccessful
statistical replications, that's right, sorry. A curious trend, and one that should be considered in this context, are sheep-goat effects. In this effect, individuals who are advocates of parapsychology and who have had psi experiences tend to get a higher number of hits than non-psi experiences. This trend was obtained even in unsuccessful psi replications recently published. Although it is not known why this effect occurs, some evidence suggests that it may be a bias related to response repetition. In any case, the distinction between believers and non-believers is supported by evidence and is appropriate to apply. Researchers addressing these issues are positioned in 2 groups with conflicting stances. One group includes scientists advocating RV and anomalous cognitions due to the cumulative imperial evidence, and B, the other group of researchers who are currently not persuaded by the significant evidence for anomalous cognition and due to other replications without statistical success, reject the validity of putative psi. Although both positions have empirical support, the current issue for these groups is the ideological radicalization they have undergone in the last few decades. This extreme scientific prejudice resulted in the marginalization of remote viewing and the scientific study of anomalous cognitions. Other researchers who are more neutral to these polarized ideologies have emphasized the need for more research because the statistical evidence to date is insufficient due to the extraordinary epistemic characteristics of remote viewing phenomena. Moreover, the significant results obtained remain a challenge to current scientific knowledge. It is said that epistemically, yeah, that'll do. Yes, the hypothesis of remote viewing are extraordinary because they have no rational or etiological foundations to explain the origin of these phenomena. When an object of study is extraordinary or implies anomalous phenomena, its scientific validation cannot be based on ordinary evidence. However, the lack of epistemic foundations does not preclude or nullify the investigation of anomalous cognitions. In fact, neither all scientific knowledge is rational, nor do all hypotheses under investigation have epistemic validity, as noted by Henry and Leifer in 2014 and 2005 respectively. Respectively. An example can be found in the mathematical theorems of incompleteness, which demonstrate that mathematically the study or acceptance of undecidable questions, such as anomalous cognitions, does not imply rejecting rationality as the basis of scientific knowledge. A clearer example is in the logical principle of non-locality used in quantum mechanics.
Okay.
I love that subject. I can do this. If science accepts objects of inquiry that are extraordinary in questions of quantum physics and in mathematics, it at least should also be able to accept the scientific investigations and not the scientific validity of anomalous cognitions, says Henry, 2005. We further contend that investigations of anomalous phenomena must adopt the principles of objectivity, confrontation, and the mutability of the scientific process. Not applying this approach to the study of seemingly divergent or undecidable objects of study would otherwise result in the Aristotelian fallacy of the negation of the consequent and prevent the exercise of scientific falsification. Moreover, assuming this conclusion without the contrast or application of the method would also have serious ethical consequences and promote scientific prejudice and pseudo-skepticism that characterizes skepticism.
Scientism.
That's the one.
Yes. Now, this 1.3 is probably one of the most eloquent pieces of
Not
scientific...
the way I read it, Becky.
No, it's it's all good, my friend. It is one of the most eloquent pieces of scientific reasoning I've come across in a long time, and tell you why. Because what they're saying here, in essence, is this. Okay, there's something here which can't really be measured or understood with our present understanding of science, and in fact, the world. Our view of the world, our worldview, our rational worldview is being challenged by let's call it RV here, for argument, or anomalous cognition, because it doesn't make any sense for any of the things we think we know, right?
Yeah.
But what they're saying here is really awesome. This is the last paragraph. Moreover, assuming this conclusion without the contrast or application of the method would also have serious ethical consequences and promote scientific prejudice, which is an oxymoron, by the way, and pseudo-skepticism, which Dave and I come across all the time, that characterizes scientism. So maybe I should explain what scientism is. Scientism is born again science. It's like,
Wow.
it's what, and I hate to say it, but that's what Dawkins does. Richard Dawkins is the scientism guy. Scientism scientism will build a barricade and say this far and no further.
Yeah.
Right? Now, that's not science. That's scientism, because science is an ever-evolving body of knowledge. Science is not a thing that is complete. It's not even a thing that is immutable, meaning it will change over time. Methodologies will change. Processes will change. Procedures will change. As our knowledge grows, the way we approach science, and in fact, the accumulation of scientific knowledge, so that's knowledge that we can hang our head on and go, okay, well, there's something here, and irrespective of whether or not it's repeatable as well. And I love, moreover, how they brought in the example of quantum physics. Now, this is really important to understand. Classical physicists, including Einstein, hated what quantum physics seemed to imply. Non-locality, for example, right? Or worse yet, the seeming importance of measurement to the outcome.
That's right.
None of those things sit well. In fact, in our rational universe,
Yes.
that we built on Newton's clockwork, none of this makes any sense, right? And the speed of light is the upper speed limit. That's it. Nothing can go faster. Well, no, you're wrong. We know it. Well, we know it's wrong. Okay, we still say it. I don't know why, but
Even though
we all
know
know
it's
it's
wrong.
wrong.
That's right.
Because quantum entanglement we have not proven to exist. There it is. There it is. Love it or lump it. We have to expand. We have to expand our protocols, procedures, and understanding of the universe.
I have an
One
analogy.
of the greatest. I listened to a physicist the other night. Can't remember his name. Actually, sorry, it was a lady, I think. And she goes, "Well, this is something we don't tell you, right? The universe doesn't work the way we explain it now, especially with the ongoing expansion. In fact, with the accelerating expansion, it doesn't make any sense. What is driving it? It's dark energy, but we don't know what that is or if it even exists. But without that assumption or variable, let's call it, our cosmology doesn't work. We can't. We don't know.
It doesn't work because of the Doppler effect, Becky.
Yeah.
They're presuming everything's flying apart, but without any ability to measure that it's actually happening. And it's the same thing as quantum theory now. Like dark energy or dark matter, they believe that maybe it's got a reverse gravity that's making everything fly apart. But right now, all the experiments in the James Webb telescope is actually attempting now the findings, as they work through the data, that it isn't and there isn't. The universe isn't expanding and there isn't any dark matter.
See, I
love what it's doing. But Becky, my analogy is, do you remember those books that you would get that just have dots and each one had a number, and the number would increase linear fashion, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you had to draw a line between 1 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 3 and 4, and eventually you get a picture?
Yep.
Right? So when Einstein was looking at quantum theory, the double slit experiment and quantum entanglement, he was doing well and then just wandered away from it. Just wandered away. Spooky action at a distance was all we got from like the smartest guy at the time. I don't know. There's no equations. The world can't be solved with triangles. So he walked away from it just going, wow, that's too hard. Whatever that is, I don't understand. And the reason why Mecky's talking about the speed of light is because quantum entangled photons or particles or atoms they can be anywhere in the entire universe, and you change one and it instantly changes the other. There's no length of time between the two. They're instantaneous. And so that's why time doesn't matter anymore. And the quantum entanglement experiments you can do also prove that it goes back in time. So whether there's no time going forward or backwards, they are forever entangled, and they were always entangled.
Look, famously, Einstein said, God does not play dice with the universe. Now, what he meant by that is, because the thing is this, quantum physics supposes that we live in a sea of probabilities without a fixed reality. There's no fixed reality. It just doesn't exist, right? So this statement, that Einstein made, God does not play dice with the universe, is alluding to the fact that he just didn't think that the sea of probabilities was at all what was happening. There's this one path in reality, and this is what it is. Like, this is classical physics, classical mechanistic thinking. And even the theory of relativity is rooted deeply in classical mechanistical physics, or the understanding of physics. Okay? Whereas quantum physics is a complete departure from that. None of it makes any sense in any of the things that the Western world, and this is important, has come to think is the truth over the last 500 years. However, sorry, go on.
The acceptance that we live in a simulation is the only true outcome of looking at how preposterous everything is now.
But see, the thing is this: in the East, none of this is questionable. Like the Eastern philosophies, the Eastern way of thinking. Yeah, well, we know. Of course, we know. It's and in fact, my grandmother told me this. It's one of the earliest things I remember. My grandmother did. She laid cards, okay, and she was very interested in astrology. And she was a whiz at the mathematics involved with astrology, and she could do charts and all kinds of things. Right?
Oh wow! I've seen those templates. They're nuts.
Oh, it's nuts. I mean, I couldn't do it. I mean, maybe with some study, but no, forget about it. Anyway, but the point is this: she said in German, die Sterne neigen sich, aber sie zwingen nicht. Okay, and what that means, loosely translated, the stars, which means, of course, the astrological, constellations and so forth, the energies of the stars, they lean to you. They lean, or they open possibilities, but they never force themselves upon you.
Wow.
So there are possibilities open to you, maybe 1,000, maybe 5, but it's never just the one path, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And the stars, she said, indicate the most likely. If you know the math, and if you can do it, and if you understand how it works, then you can map the most likely path. Now, I do have to say something else, but I'll give you a simple example of that. I really love Michael Palin. He's a travel writer. You might know him from Monty Python, etc. In 1988, he undertook his very first travel show. 1988, he was 40. He was in his 40s, right thereabouts. And it was the first time he had ever done a travel show. He didn't even really want to do it initially, right? But it was in commemoration of.
Pole to pole, wasn't it?
Sorry.
Pole to pole.
No. It was 80 days around the world.
Right. Okay.
Pole to pole was a subsequent one he did.
Ah. Okay.
It was in celebration of the publication of Around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne, as it was.
Yes.
Now, Phileas Fogg was an English character. He was part of the Reform Club, and he bet his fellow Reform Club members that he could, in fact, make it across the world in 80 days. They said, nonsense, you couldn't do it, whatever. And if you like the story, go and read it. There's a couple of movies as well, if you want to watch it.
I do like those movies.
But essentially, he goes, I don't know what to do with it. But so the conditions were that he had to undertake the same journey that Phileas Fogg did, but he couldn't fly.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't allowed to fly, so he had to go by land or by sea. So off he went. He stopped in Singapore. Now, why am I telling you this, do you think? It's nice information, but what the hell, Mackie?
It's got quantum entanglement in it?
Well, we'll get there. So in Singapore, he stopped over at the, I think it was Singapore. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Singapore, the Raffles Hotel.
Raffles,
and he stopped there. And but I could be wrong. It could have stopped in India somewhere. But I'm pretty sure it was.
I've been to Raffles.
Yeah, and they had a hotel astrologer, and the astrologer did a chart for him because one of the pythons had asked him to bring back a chart for the child that they were just expecting. So dutifully, he did it, right? And I think one of them wanted to have a Chinese roof tile as well. But then he got his horoscope done. And it said, oh yeah, you will successfully conclude this journey. And but make no mistake, it's actually not that easy to get across the world in 80 days, even today, over land and by sea, because most of the sea lines and land lines just don't exist anymore, because that's not the way we travel. Right?
And the amount of countries you've got to get through.
Oh, completely. I mean, anything could go wrong, so it's not that easy. Mm-hmm. But the astrologer said, no, you'll succeed. And not only that, he said, you will take many more journeys like this. Many more. And Palin said, yeah, sure, whatever. Remember, he didn't want to do this one in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the truth is, over the ensuing 20, 30 years, he undertook another, I think, 10 odd journeys.
Oh, wow.
And many of them longer and more arduous than the first one. Right? So just my point here is that, did the astrologer influence him? I don't know. Would he have done it anyway? I don't know. But the point is...
Is it a two-way street of idea and
it was a 50-50. He could have done it. He would have not done it. He didn't say he would do one more, two more. He said he would do many more.
Probably didn't even know he was doing one.
Bingo. Right? So that's my point here. The universe, right, gives you nudges. Astrology gives you possibilities, probabilities. It doesn't tell you it's going to be this, this, and this. If you enter this world with the mindset of the fixed and rational, you will fail. You will. If you enter it with the quantum mindset of probabilities, you might have some success. And this is what is really interesting. And this is another thing I need to talk about, Dave, in the text here. This is what they said. Where did they say it? They said here that people that believed in RV.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. A curious trend,
success,
and one that should be considered in this context, are sheep-goat effects. In this effect, individuals who are advocates of parapsychology and who have had psi experiences tend to get a higher number of hits than non-psi experiences. This trend was obtained even in unsuccessful psi replications recently published. So if you believe in this possibility, in this probability, then it is likely that it will work for you. Does it sound like something else? Placebo effect? Ring a bell here? If you believe that this is a thing that can be done, and maybe you've had this experience, chances are that will work for you. If you do not believe in it, and if you have not had experiences, then chances are it will not work for you.
That's right.
So in order for this to be successful, you can't actually take the traditional scientific approach. You need to find people that have a talent or a belief. So, and this is why this is really important, because this really goes against everything rational science wants to represent.
Oh, you should be able to just repeat it with anybody anywhere, Mackie. That's the idea.
Right. What does belief have to do with anything?
That's right.
I don't care about belief, but it is clear here, and this is, I think, why they took the emotional intelligence route.
Yeah.
It is clear that your state of mind, this is what we're talking about here, it is clear that your state of mind plays a significant role in how this turns out.
You could say the same thing for firewalking.
100%. Yeah. But that's the point, Dave. You're absolutely correct. Mm-hmm. In fact, you can say this for everything in life.
Yeah.
Because your attitude. Now, look, I used to play...
Neo jumping between the buildings.
Yes, absolutely. I used to play volleyball when I was younger in Germany. I was playing for the school team, and I was playing in a club.
Nice.
And on the day, I can tell you, without any doubt in my mind, the team that felt better, had the better esprit de corps, the better team feeling, would win. Invariably.
Yeah.
You could actually, it was palpable.
Oh, I like that word.
It was something that was so viscerally experienced by us that we tried to get into that mindset on purpose. You can't always do that.
No, that's right.
But it was a thing. Now, could you measure it? No. Could you describe it? Sure. But you can't scientifically verify it.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to give you another example, and that is band members who psychically connect that one time. And they're always chasing it. It's not something that you can just reproduce. You just can't do that. But I was talking to one yesterday, and I said, is there a time? Yeah, that time, on stage. Remember where I know where we were when we just felt like we were one. We were in our own bubble playing this psychically. Right?
In the zone, right? You're in the zone. Whatever that means.
Yeah, so you can't just say in the moment, because you can be in the moment, it can all go south on you, right? But the same as placebo, you think that it can do it, you're believing it. But I'm going to also add this: if you've had some kind of psychic experience in your life, whether it could be just simply deja vu, not everyone has deja vu. You could have had one of those. You could have had precognition. You might have had a dream about something that came true the next day. I mean, precisely true, like I did. I got my hand up. You could have done what Mickey did and changed time, jump rails, right? Slipped. Anyway, you could do all those things. But if you never had any of those experiences, no doubt you wouldn't be a believer.
Correct.
You'd be a believer if you did see the ones and zeros, another Matrix reference. If you knew that it's the way it was and you already expected it to be real. Or maybe you didn't have supportive parents and you're a naysayer. If you had supportive parents that go, yeah, that's fine, yeah. You can see in the future if you really, if you leave yourself open to it. So that's my point. My point is they didn't chase these people with a questionnaire about their life and whether they'd experienced anything in the past and documented it. That's a good point.
Yes. 100%.
Mm.
But you see, what it shows us here is that we have to take a different approach to these phenomena. Let's call them, just broadly speaking, phenomena. It makes no sense. Well, there's that, right? But it makes no sense to try to assess them against a framework that simply can't encompass them, right? It's like, okay, it's like this. Let's say you have got a VHS tape. From those of you old enough, it's a tape that goes from the video recorder, and you play it, and then you have a movie or whatever. But it's a VHS tape that goes into a video recorder, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now that same VHS tapes, even though it's perfectly, workable, it's in good condition, it has information, you can't put that VHS tape into a Blu-ray player. You can try all you want. You can push it in. You can try to crack open the Blu-ray player and then shove it in. You're not going to get a movie out of it because it is simply the wrong mechanism and process and machine to read this. It just doesn't make any sense, right? Now theoretically, it's the same thing. It's two machines. They produce, visual and audio output on a TV. It's the same thing, but it isn't because it's fundamentally different. It's even worse with this. We've got a certain view of the world, which is mechanistic. Okay, we disregard feelings and beliefs and all that because how could they possibly influence anything? Except, of course, they do. As we know now, we now know in quantum mechanics, absolutely they do. It's like, you can stand on your head, but there it is, right? It makes no sense at all, except it does.
Yeah.
If you step away from the Western way of thinking, it makes perfect sense. Right? If you accept that we're not just flesh robots, right? If you accept there's more to us than popular physics and science would have us be. Makes perfect sense then. Doesn't make sense in any other context. It really doesn't, because you have to look at it differently. And I love how these guys have said here. What does it say here? We must not give in to scientism. We must not promote scientific prejudice. We must not promote pseudo-skepticism, because it's easy enough to criticize. It's easy enough to say, no, it's all wrong. But before long, what was once a crackpot theory, for example, right?
Yeah.
Like Wegener's continental drift, for example, right? Or
Right.
other things. Soon becomes mainstream science. Like, oh, yeah, we all knew about that, but you have to understand here, and now I'm making a long point of this, we're dealing with people here. These are not neutral organizations or august bodies that only want pure knowledge. That's not what this is. This is people with jobs and careers and egos bigger than mountains that cannot be wrong. I mean, simple examples. If look, it really actually you do well to look at some of Graham Hancock's work, especially his recent documentaries. I think was it Ancient Cataclysm was called, or Ancient Catastrophe?
Yeah, that's right.
I can't remember.
Yep.
Really good. You don't have to agree with anything he says. Just watch it and understand what's going on there. And it is scientists that are now calling for his show to be banned from I think it's Netflix. I don't know, History Channel. I can't remember. Whatever it is. Why? Because it's got a different idea and it's wrong.
It's poppycock.
Well, prove him wrong then. If it's a different idea, okay. But that's, and again, I have to go here with a lot of my internet colleagues. That's censorship. If you remove something that you do not like or something that you do not agree with, you have now censored that knowledge. That's right. That's not where we are. That's not what science is. Science is not about censorship. No. You want to censor something, censor the development of nuclear weapons. Now we rushed into that one. We did. Should we have? No. We should have censored that, but we didn't. Whereas Graham Hancock here, he makes a few good points in my opinion. And I think he makes a lot of good points, to be honest with you. Right? And he goes to the places and he looks at the places, not like armchair. What are they calling it here? Pseudo-skepticists.
That's right.
Pseudo-skeptic. Now, being a skeptic is good. I'm a skeptic. You might not think I am, but I really am, right? I am a skeptic. But I also don't believe in this nonsense statement that extraordinary claims need extraordinary proof. Extraordinary claims need exactly the same proof as other claims.
That's right. Which validate any claim.
Something,
that's right. Yep.
Yeah. Once you prove it, you prove it. It says proven. Thank you very much. If proof exists, good for you. So this is important to remember. But yeah, so we are now, and that's why I really love this paper, because it goes, we know that you don't like it, but clearly there's something here of statistical significance, right? It is here, and it seems that people that believe in it have even better results, even in bad experiments that show no significant effect here. Even then, those people have better results than the non-believers.
That's right.
Okay, so that's the thing. And people say placebo effect a lot. Placebo. Well, let's study this. I mean, if the placebo effect has the same effect, or better maybe, than the medicine that you're giving people, isn't that something we should look at least?
Totally.
It's mind over matter. Yet again, in the East, you go, yeah, of course. In the West, no, wrong. And you go, what? Oh, it's all wrong. It's nonsense. It's poppycock. It's whatever euphemism you can come up with, they will have it. But it's not. It simply isn't. And I find this so frustrating, Dave. You have no idea. Look, I should have taken the academic route when I went to uni. I shouldn't have gone into the corporate world, which I hate, by the way, just so you know. But it's been good to me. But I now think back at my time. If I had gone into academia, I think I would have done my own thing.
Wonder what kind of research you would have chased.
I wanted to study archaeology. Right, I was all set to sign up at Sydney Uni, believe it or not. If I had stayed in Germany, I wanted to study parapsychology because the University of Freiburg offered a course back in the day. Yeah, that's just like a long time ago now, right? But yeah, so sometimes I do wonder, about the road not taken, because I think I would have enjoyed that, and I probably would have enjoyed poking people in the eye, as it were, with stuff. But I mean, look, I'm where I am, and we have done what we've done. And then now you and I, we're doing what we can, obviously, in this space. But it does make me angry when I come across people and scientism is such a great way to describe these people.
Mm-hmm.
They're not scientists; they're scientisms. Okay, that's what they do.
Scientismist.
They have a belief system. Okay, they shouldn't, but they do. And the belief system is what they know. That's all.
And there's the music.
Are you kidding?
Nah. Well, we've filled it really nicely. So coming up next should be Jer Bear and his awesome show After Hours. If not, there'll be something else on. And what we're going to do is we're going to catch you 7 a.m. Tuesday and Thursday morning, US time, Eastern, for Plato's Cave. And then again, we'll see you next week. So David Mackey's Shiny Flat Out. In the meantime, stay safe.